throughout the galaxy, an innumerable amount of worlds are frequently conquered or colonized by a variety of sentient races. Some races settle worlds to benefit their empires with new resources to harvest, such as minerals for use in construction or of simple monetary value, or even something as basic as free space in order to alleviate the strain of their swelling populations. Other races will simply move from world to world merely as a stopgap measure until they find a foe worth conquering. But the majority of races that currently exist can lay claim to something that is theirs by right, a homeworld or a world of origin. These homeworlds tend to be not only the most heavily defended worlds of a specific race, but also hold a place of spiritual and cultural significance within each of these races' societies, even if said race lack any sort of religious ideologies. Terra, the homeworld of the human species and the throne world of the Imperium, is one of, if not the single most heavily defended world within the galaxy. Despite many races, such as the Eldari, Orcs, or even Gene-Stealers having made their presence known upon the world, the High Lords of Terra will officially spout propaganda about how Terra has never been defiled by the touch of Xenos races, and the Ecclesiarchy will give grand sermons about how Terra is the holiest of worlds, due to being the cradle of humanity. But was Terra a world that belonged to humanity exclusively? Or did one of the many Xenos races visit and perhaps even colonize it first? Humanity itself is still a relatively young species within the grand scheme of things, compared to the Necrons, Eldari, Hrud or Orcs, with only the Xenos of the Tau Empire being younger by comparison. Many of the races within the galaxy were created by the enigmatic race known as the Old Ones, with many others still being created to be used as soldiers during the Old Ones' war with Necron, an event known as the War in Heaven. There is some potential evidence to suggest that prior to modern humanity's evolution, Terra was visited by at least one Xenos race during its history. During the Dark Age of technology, the Emperor of Mankind discovered a piece of ancient technology that would become known as the Golden Throne, deep within a set of ancient and sunken ruins located within the deserts of Asia. This technology has been confirmed as being Eldari in nature, such as within the novel Ghost Warrior, stating outright that its mechanisms are stolen Eldari technology. This in turn suggests that the Eldari had visited Terra long ago in the past. The autarch known as Slaudar was also able to travel to Terra during the Terran Unification Wars, where he would resurrect and recruit John Chromaticus into the organization known as the Cabal. This would also suggest that the Golden Throne was quite possibly not the only webway portal upon Terra, but perhaps one of several. Admittedly, however, Slaudar could have used what is, essentially, a portable webway gate. The novel Old Earth has shown that the Farseer Eldred Althron had access to a device that could open a temporary entrance into the webway, so it would be fair to assume that Slaudar could have also had access to this kind of technology. Even Luna, Terra's moon, was also confirmed to have a webway gate upon its surface, which would itself be the epicenter of a clash between the returning Primarch of the Ultramarines, Rabuti Gilliman, and the Demon Primarch Magnus the Red during the tail end of the 41st millennium. There is also the fact that there is a substantial amount of Eldari art which shares a certain stylistic aesthetic similar to that found within ancient Egypt. Even the crowns of ancient Egyptian rulers share superficial similarities to the distinctive headgear worn by guardians, aspect warriors, and seers. Seeing as how rangers tend to travel from world to world in search of freedom and adventure, this could possibly mean that at some point in time, a group of rangers arrived upon Terra and were possibly revered as gods by the native peoples they encountered, due to having come from the stars or from one of the webway portals. There is also the possibility that Terra itself could have been one of the legendary Maiden worlds. The Maiden worlds, or Lilithan in the Eldari lexicon, are paradise worlds, typically developed from the ground up, using lifeless and barren planets as the world's framework, before they would, over the course of thousands, if not millions of years, teem with many forms of life, both on the macro and micro level. This then leads to the possibility that humanity had evolved upon Terra through little more than sheer luck and blind coincidence. These worlds were created long before the fall of the Eldari Empire, so this combined with the fact that webway technology has been documented as having existed on Terra does seem to support this notion. But there is a major problem with this possibility: pathogens. When Maiden worlds are created, great care is taken to ensure that no viruses or other harmful bacteria could ever evolve in order to make it more enticing and beneficial for future Eldari colonization. Seeing as Terra has had countless amounts of pathogens that have evolved upon the world, this would seem to debunk the Maiden world possibility. In addition, Eldari have visited Terra on numerous occasions, and none have mentioned the possibility of Terra being one of the Maiden worlds. The Eldari believe Maiden worlds are theirs by right and will commit acts of mass genocide towards other races that in their eyes have the audacity to settle upon them. But this in itself does not debunk the possibility of Terra having once been a Xenos world entirely. Eldari are not the only race to have left their mark upon the world, as there is evidence to support the possibility that the Necrons could have also visited Terra at some point in the world's history. Now, this is not to suggest that Terra is a tomb world, however, but more of a case that the Necrons themselves had visited the world in the distant past. It's no secret that the Necron cultural aesthetic is highly similar to those found within ancient Egyptian and Mesoamerican cultures. This is not only from a visual standpoint, but also through the construction of pyramids, which are a common sight within Necron society. Some have speculated that the pyramids on Earth could have been built by alien races due to circumstantial evidence, such as the pyramids of Giza being aligned with the constellation of Orion, as well as being one of the most accurately aligned structures to face magnetic north ever constructed within the history of the human race. Now, while these structures may not have been necessarily built by the Necrons themselves, they could have been built in tribute to the Necrons, using some kind of lost science or Xenos technology in order to aid the accuracy of the construction. Even the title for Egyptian royalty, Pharaoh, could be a linguistic corruption of Pharaon, which itself is a title gifted to exceptionally high-ranking and powerful Necron lords. However, this in itself could all simply be a matter of coincidence, as other worlds have also sported pyramid-like structures within the galaxy, such as those constructed upon Prospero or the ancient ziggurats within the jungles upon Goet's world. In addition, the Necrons would undertake their long sleep long before humanity would even evolve, and the tomb worlds would seemingly not begin to awaken until the 30th millennium at the very earliest. But these in themselves are not the main link that suggests the Necrons had visited Terra. The true link in this regard comes from, in fact, none other than the Void Dragon. Between the 11th and 12th century AD, the Emperor of Mankind would fight a beast that would become known one day as the Dragon of Mars, which itself is strongly implied to be a shard of the Void Dragon. The battle between the two would eventually give rise to the legend of Saint George and the Dragon in the process. The Void Dragon is one of the Catan, ancient entities that alongside the Necrons waged war against the Old Ones. Each Catan would be shattered following the events of the war in heaven, and many of their shards would be imprisoned upon numerous worlds. For example, a shard of the Nightbringer would be imprisoned upon the world of Pavonis, and a shard of the Deceiver would be imprisoned upon the world of Naugadon. While Catan shards have been known to travel from world to world, it seems more likely that the Void Dragon shard upon Terra was placed here deliberately and imprisoned upon it. This is due to the fact that Catan shards, if given free rein, are capable of devastating entire worlds, scouring them of all life in the process. Now, while this particular Void Dragon shard could be a weaker portion of the Catan itself, it's worth noting that not even the Emperor of Mankind, with his immense powers, was capable of destroying this creature, implying that the Void Dragon shard he encountered must have been in itself rather powerful. This would suggest, in a manner similar to how the Primarch Ferrus Manus encountered the entity known as the Acernoth upon the world of Medusa, that during the Middle Ages, someone or something had inadvertently freed the Void Dragon from its prison, causing it to go on a rampage until the Emperor of Mankind was able to subdue it. Perhaps Terra was itself one of the battlegrounds between the Eldari and the Necrons during the events of the War in Heaven, explaining the seeming influence of both races upon the world. Maybe the Necrons fought the Eldari over the world's potential strategic importance, driving the younger race off, before eventually using the world as a prison for one of the Void Dragon's shards millions of years later. While admittedly this is all extremely unlikely, it's still an interesting possibility to consider. What do you think? Leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.